Great to see you. I'm going
Hi,
to.
Benita.
All right, Benita, I'm going to turn things over to you as we get started to kind of do some quick introduction.
Hi, yes, welcome everyone. I'm glad that you were able to join, and I'm really excited about our session today. Today we have Lynn Christian, who is the author of SoulSalt, and does lots of speaking engagements. I first saw Lynn at the IMA Summit for those who were able to attend, and found the content that she shared so inspiring that I wanted to share it with our members. So that's my reason for having Lynn join us. And I will turn it over to Lynn to start the session.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. And I'm actually delivering something different than what I presented at the conference in Boston. Benita and I went through many of the things that I often speak on. And one of the reasons that I often speak on time and focus management is I am diagnosed with ADHD. But it gets better in that my first corporate job, I left academics. I was a 15-year teacher, veteran teacher, and had earned some awards and had recognized that I didn't really belong in public school any longer. Was able to get hired to develop curriculum and write for Franklin Covey, and eventually found myself being elevated to project manager over their time management suites, all the materials we were writing. And here was the catch. If anyone knows Franklin Covey, you know they have a lot of planning systems and they're all about productivity. I could never get their planning system to work for me. And yet I was managing projects with the world-class facilitators that were going out from Franklin Covey and teaching other people how to really manage their time. And what I discovered with my ADHD was I needed to create my own system of focus management, and I needed to focus on managing focus versus managing time. And so what I'm sharing with you are some things that I have learned over the years, ways that I have hacked my own system. And hopefully this will assist you to cut through the chaos. And sometimes the chaos we have to cut through is in our own minds and the clutter in our own lives. Not that work can't dump a lot on us. I just find that if we have a few systems working for us, no matter what life and work dump on us, we're more able to be resilient and keep our equilibrium. So first thing we're going to do is talk about the video. And Emily passed this out to you and she's bringing it up. If you remember, we're asking you to watch this video and determine if you were more like the blonde or the brunette. And I am now wondering if you wouldn't mind coming off of mute. Usually we'll keep you on mute and ask you to ask questions and let Emily and Benita kind of field your questions to me. But right now, if you'd come off mute, I would love to hear a couple of you tell me, who did you relate to most? The blonde or the brunette? The person who was using her planner, or the person who could never get her planner to work for her?
All right, I'm just going through and letting folks talk. If you wouldn't mind hitting the raise hand, that would help me, and then I can unmute you if you're ready to share.
And I know it's early. Some of you have had coffee, some of you have not. Okay, from Amy, the brunette. Thank you, Amy. Who else? Thanks for putting that in chat too. You're welcome to put it in chat if you don't want to come off of mute. Brunette as well. We're getting a lot of brunettes. This is good news. Not that there's a right or wrong answer. Okay. Those of you who said that you related to the brunette, let's have a couple of you tell us how come. What was it? So this is either Amy or Deborah, Benita. How come you related more to the brunette? Todd, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yep.
we can.
Okay. So I love to make lists. And in fact, today I'm looking at my page and I have like 20 items that I wrote down today. But I still relate to the brunette because it still looks unsurmountable to me. And I have no idea how to get through all of it or how to prioritize it. It all feels important. And then I have in the past just gotten to analysis paralysis, as it were. And then I'm like, I won't do any of it because I can't figure out how to prioritize it.
Right. And for you today, Todd, this was made for you. Our presentation is made for you or anyone like you. I'm seeing some of you say both. Some of us have been both. And so somebody who knows what the blonde's perspective is, would you come on and tell us how come you could relate to some of what the blonde was doing? And you can either just come off or just raise your hand. You can also put it in chat. I know Leslie found both. Elise, you could be both. Beth, you've been both. Who would speak to that? What happens when you are the blonde? Must have a lot of shy people this morning. Leslie, you want to share with us? If you don't mind.
I mean, this is Benita. I think for me,
Yeah.
I could, it was time consuming in itself to do the list and, think about everything that I wanted to do in the day. It felt like I had to set aside a lot of time for that. So maybe I felt like I was doing bad time management with that piece.
Yeah. Leslie, thanks for letting us know. Thank you, Benita, for that. So this dialogue that you see in this cartoon was a dialogue that I actually heard one of our Franklin Covey facilitators come back from an airport after she'd been traveling, and she had listened to these two women talking. And this was the exact dialogue. And I hurried and wrote it down and handed it off to one of the assistants, and they put it into this video. This actually happened. And the thing that we either do is we either have a system and we learn how to use it, or we don't actually take time to plan. And sometimes we think it's because it takes a long time. And I will tell you, my daily planning now takes less than 3 minutes. Often it takes less than 1 minute because I now have a system. And so this Stacy, so for your benefit, this will be available. Emily can send it to you, and it's also on the SoulSalt YouTube channel, SoulSalt Coaching YouTube channel. So it's SoulSalt Coaching. That's the title. Are you using a planner? And you can find that video there on our channel. There it is. It's in the chat now. Okay. Let's go to chat, and I'm going to ask each of you to list out the components of your planning system, because we are living in a day and age when you can no longer have just one component to your planning system. So I have Google Calendar that I share with everybody in the company. All of my appointments are there. I have a paper planner because I am such a paper person. I doodle, I make notes. I also have a calendar that I share with my family members that tends to be more paper than digital. So what are the things that you use in your planning system? Go ahead, go to chat and start writing out, what are all the pieces to your planning? When you're planning and running your life, what are the components that you lean into? Go ahead and everybody just take a moment, tell us what kind of things are in your system. For instance, you may use the phone, you may use your computer. Yeah, project management platforms, OneNote, really good. Paper notebooks, OneNote, Google, Asana, yes. Daily journal, thank you for that one. A calendar, a list maker on your phone. And are you noticing that you are combining personal with professional, right? Lots of systems, Outlook calendar. Yep, there we go. Lots of, yes, work calendar, separate shared family calendar. There we go. So while we're going through today, think about this system. There's reminders in Teams. Thank you for that. Still use paper planner. You like the tactical reminder or the tactile reminder? Okay. While we're going through today, notice if there are any shifts that you make in the way you use your planner so that you're more like the brunette than the blonde. And the first thing we're going to do is go to a simulation game. So Emily, will you pull the focus simulation up? And this is what it looks like. Now you should have this handout and hopefully you've printed it off. But if you haven't, you can see what it looks like on the screen because Emily's showing you. I'm going to ask you to make these 3 columns. You'll want these 3 columns. The first column is Arabic, which is just the form of numbers that we use rather than Roman numerals or some other caricatures. We use the Arabic 1, 2, 3 like you see there. So Arabic 1 through 12. Then in the middle column, the title of that would be the months of the year. We start with January and we end with December. Of course, there are 12. That's why we're using Arabic numbers 1 through 12. And then the last column on the right are the ABCs, but we're only using part of the ABC, about half of the ABCs, A through L. So you'll want to have these 3 columns in front of you. If you don't have this printed off, hurry and make those 3 columns. It doesn't have to look exactly like this. Doesn't even have to be neat. Just 3 different columns where you know that you're going to have 3 different jobs. And here's what I'm going to ask you to do. Play along with these rules, because when you play along with these rules, you will teach yourself something about your brain and your ability to focus. If you don't play by these rules and you try to hack your way or cheat your way through this first exercise, you'll miss the lesson. So play by the rules. Rule number 1, when you fill this out, you have to jump per column after writing one thing down. So when we say go, you're going to write the first number 1 in the left-hand column. Then you're going to jump over to the middle column and write January or Jan, Jan. You can use the abbreviation. And then you're going to jump to the ABCs and put the first letter of the alphabet, which is A. And then you're going to jump back to the first column and do the second number, 2, the second month, and the second letter of the alphabet. Now, this will require that you do what we call context shifting. And the reason we want you to context shift is so you can get the simulation exercise, because afterward, we're going to ask you how that felt. So we're forcing you to jump from one column to another. We're going to say go. And when we say go, if you have a phone or some kind of timer, when we say go, you push start on the timer, because you'll also want to time yourself, not because this is a race. You want to give yourself a baseline. How long did you take to fill this out by doing only one item per column, jumping to the next column and doing the next item, and then jumping to the next, and then going back to the first column. So you want to know how long did it take you to manage yourself through this simulation. So before we start, Emily and Benita, do you guys see any questions? Any furrowed brows? Anything to be concerned about?
I don't see any questions. And I did throw the focus simulation PDF in the chat as well, if anyone wants to open it up from there.
Okay, so get yourself ready. Paper and pencil, a timer, and we're going to get ready to go. One item per column until you finish, until you get to 12 in Arabic, December in the month, and L in the ABCs. With your timers ready, pencils ready, or pens ready, get set, go. And as people are finishing, kind of raise your hand, let us know you're done, or come on, there we go. Amy, thank you. People finishing. Todd, thank you for putting your time. Go ahead and feel like you can put your time. Olivia, go ahead, put your time there if you'd like. Good job. I think almost everybody's there. Some of us got a minute, some of us got under a minute. Amy, 46:59, Todd, 108, Benita, 57, Olivia, 52.5, Beth, Talita, Leslie, Agnes, thank you, thank you, thank you. Good work. This is fun. Okay, let's talk about what it was like inside your head when you were doing this. Who would come off and tell us, what was it like? What happened inside your mind as you were running through the simulation? Leslie, thank you.
I felt super hurried, like I was not going to be the achiever.
Did you feel like you had a race against the clock?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I know, even though I warned you. So think about, how does that mentality play out in your actual day-to-day, what should I say, your day-to-day focus management? Do you feel this urge to do it faster? Do you feel this urge that it's a race?
I do. And I also felt the need to be to write all of the months out completely versus putting Jan, Feb, March, and for it to be neat and readable, which is weird. Nobody else is going to.
That's good to know. That's good to know about yourself, right? That probably pops up other places. And remember what I said when we started this, we're going to show you things about yourself where you can make a few adjustments. And a lot of them will just be how you manage your mind and your thoughts. How are you handling that conversation inside of yourself so you can be better at cutting through the chaos? Did anybody have to use the ABC song to know where they were in the alphabet?
Oh, yes.
Todd, tell us about that.
I mean, I made it through like probably the first 5 or 6, but then yeah, towards the back half, I started singing.
Yeah. So notice that the 1, 2, 3 through 12, we have other people that did have to use it. It kind of correlates with numbers, and then how many times do we write the months of the year as numbers? But then when we shifted the task and it was different, it wasn't always associated with the letter, numbers and letters, then you started to question yourself, like Beth, or you actually wonder, okay, can I remember what comes next? So it slowed you down. It made you question yourself because the context really, really did shift. Okay, some of you have this itch we need to scratch right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the focus simulation game again. So if you had to draw yours, draw another set exactly like you did the first time. And if you didn't have to draw and you already have these columns, go ahead and get ready, because we're going to do it again a second time. This time, you get to see what happens when you do all of the Arabic numbers 1 through 12 before you go to column 2. And then you do January through December, and then you go to column 3 and you do A through L. And this time you get to time yourself as well and compare your times. So now you're going to stay focused on one topic, be it numbers or months or letters, until you finish a chunk of that. We're not going to do all the numbers. We're not going to do all the letters. But when you finish that chunk of 1 through 12, 1 year worth of months and half of the alphabet. Any questions about that? Now you get to do it in sequence. Okay, get ready, get yourself started, get your timer ready, paper or pen, whatever it is, go. And let us know when you finish and give us your time. Here we go. Beth, wow. Some of you are cutting it in half. Now it's working. Now it's flowing. Nice. Look at these scores. 29.3, Christina. Nice one. Olivia, 31.1. Talita, 31.9. Leslie, 39. Excellent. Okay, let's talk about what happened in your mind this time. What was the shift? How was it different? You can either put it in chat or you can just come off and tell us. How is this different?
I mean, for me, I wasn't having to shift between different thought methods, I guess.
Right. Did that feel more calm, Benita?
Yes, a lot more calm.
Yeah. And Olivia, thank you for coming out and telling us. So you did it this way first because you didn't want to mess up.
Yes.
Yeah. So that tells you something about where you're coming from, right?
Yes.
Leslie, no singing this time. Chastity, I cut my time in half and excellent went over on the alphabet queue. So you kept producing. Interesting. Yeah, and most of you are unmuted if you want to share verbally. So
it was
okay.
much more sequential and organized to do it the second time. I can't do it across. Like it just, my brain didn't work.
Right. So this way it was more sequential. It made more sense. Your brain could flow with it. Is that what you're saying,
Correct.
Deborah?
Correct.
Okay, good. So here's one of the things that we picked up on when we brought this practice in at SoulSalt for our team. What we decided to do different after doing a focus simulation like this was we decided that if we walk into one another's office or we need something from the other person, we reach out and let them know that we want some time with them. Maybe we show up at their door and we just lean at the door frame. We don't intrude. And then if the person puts their finger up and we can see they're busy, we know that they want to finish what they're doing so that they don't have to pull their head out of that email that they're doing, that blog that they're writing, that whatever it is that they're doing, especially if it's our people in finance, they want to finish the column in their Excel spreadsheet. So yes. So hopefully you've taught yourself something about how you need to stay focused on small packages of work before you let your brain go to the next thing, or it takes you longer to come back, because it's kind of like tunnels. If you're down one tunnel doing one kind of work and somebody calls you out of that tunnel to go to another kind of work, you have to crawl out of that tunnel, get acclimated to the new tunnel, pick up what you're doing there, contribute what you need to, then come back. You're going to still have to wayfind to get back to where you were in the original tunnel. And this simulates that. And I think we have, yes. So Emily, would you share the Gerald Weinberg? There we go. Agile fundamentals, wasted. So look at this. This comes from software management systems. And you can see when you have one project, your time and your focus availability on that project's 100%, and you don't lose anything to context. But if you're juggling up to 4 or 5 projects at a time, every time you take your attention away from one of those projects and you have to go hit that other project, the chances are that you're going to lose a lot of time and focus and energy. So if you're bouncing all day from one project to another and you have up to 5, the percentage of time available per project may be 5%, and you're losing 75% just by not being at peak performance, because it takes a minute to acclimate. So I wanted to share that with you. So I'm going to ask you to take a moment and just jot a note to yourself. Based on this first exercise, what is something that you've taught yourself that you can use today, and I've seen some of those show up in the chat, that you can use today to make it so that you can better use the system that you have? Yeah. So give yourself that note. This will help you cut through the chaos and maybe give you some authority to help you see why it's so smart. That's good, Todd. I like that. Yep. Paul, thank you. None of us can really do that. Tiffany, time blocking is a great way to handle that. You'll still find that you have to get your brain acclimated after one time block. But at least if you give yourself, and the time blocking, what we find is we all have ultradian rhythms. You've probably heard of circadian rhythms that help us with our sleep cycle. During the day, we all have ultradian rhythms that tell us that we can focus really well on something for about 90 minutes. It takes a while to get ramped up in that 90 minutes. Then we hit peak focus time, and then it starts to diminish. And you are really superior at focus management if you can get 3 of those in a day, where you get at least 90 minutes to work on one thing. And you'll notice that you peak, and then you get tired of that thing and you need a break. And usually you only need 20 minutes. Sometimes we only get 5. Sometimes we don't give ourselves a break. But if you'll give yourself a break in between the 90-minute sessions, you'll be able to focus better. Or if that's foreign to you and you can only focus for 30 minutes. When I first started this, I could only focus for 15. And then I could stretch it to 30. And eventually I got my ADHD to get really tolerant of a 90-minute session. Yeah, there we go. Chastity, thank you. Making sure you have some boundaries, allowing people not to disrupt you, and not even disrupt your own flow with shenanigans yourself. So good learnings. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to a system that I have created. I used to have this as an app, but it got to the point where the app wasn't free for me to use anymore. It was going to cost me $10,000 to keep it running, so I took the app down. But the process is the same. So if we go to the Prezi, Emily, I'll have you advance it. So we're going to share with you, this is a system that I use, this 4-step process that I use that has gotten to the point now where it only takes me a minute to do my daily planning. So here's the cue for each of you. Weekly planning probably is a good thing to do after you get your daily planning system down. So hopefully something that I share today, some of you will be using something like this. Some of you, this will be foreign to you. Some of you, this will be exactly the thing that you needed. Let's see how it starts. But there are 4 steps. We brainstorm first, which is what some of us try to do with lists, but we have a bias with lists. So I'm not the anti-list person. I'm just simply saying we've been raised in cultures where the students were at the top of the list, or the people who won the race at, say, a track meet or something, they're at the top of the list. Top of the list has a bias in our minds. So when we do lists, what happens is we start generating a list of all the things we need to do. A lot of times it's after we've been generating that list, maybe at the 80% mark. Let's say we're taking 5 minutes. At 80% of 5 minutes, we really start to get to some of the meat and potatoes of what really needs to be done. So list making doesn't necessarily mean that you've prioritized. It just means you felt better by getting things out of your head. So instead of doing a list, try this. And this is why we asked you to get your sticky notes. And some of you are using these already. So next frame, Emily. The first step is using a mode of thinking that is natural to all of us. Sometimes we call it brainstorming. It's just divergent thinking. And so today, since we're in the morning, we're going to simulate how to use this 4-step system by using divergent thinking. Here are the rules. Dump out everything that you have in your mind that would typically go on a list, but don't put it in a list. Each item that comes to mind that you need to accomplish, give it its own separate Post-it note. Now, if you don't have Post-it notes, you can use just scraps of paper. Doesn't matter. Post-it notes are handy because they have sticky little glue on them, and we can keep them around for days and days. They don't fall off a chart, hopefully. So your time right now, and I'm going to time this, is giving you 2 minutes, and some of you won't need that, but let's just do a 2-minute brain dump where all the many varied and unusual things that are vying for your attention that say, do me, I need to do this, I need to do this. Now, that doesn't mean it has to be done today. It's just in your brain kind of poking there in the gray matter saying, write this one down. This is important. We don't want to forget this. We need to do this at some point. Some of them will be, oh, I need to do it today. Doesn't matter. Right now, we're just giving them each their own sticky note. We don't care about prioritization. We just want to do a brain dump. You have 2 minutes to start right now. All the things, many very unusual little tasks that are floating around in your head. Do you have any questions? Emily, do you see any questions? Okay.
Nope, I don't see any questions.
Let's go. Start brain dumping. One thing per sticky note. You have about 50 seconds left, so keep going. Even if you get stuck, sometimes a new idea will pop in, so stick with it. Down to our last 10 seconds. So finish up. And time's up. Okay, so you quickly dump everything out. And Emily, show us what this might look like on the next slide. So it could look like this, could be a whole bunch of things, but you have a bunch of sticky notes. And in this case, there's a green one here because I took a picture of my assistant here at SoulSalt, Shannon D. And she had a green one from the day before. The day before, her Post-it notes were green. So she had one left over from the day before. So you have a pile. That's great. If you have a pile and it seems disorganized, that's where we want to be. It's a little messy at this point because we're just using this time to get things out of the head. And this is one of the reasons why list making also can be deceptive. Getting things out of your head feels good. It helps us feel some relief, but we haven't done anything yet. So that's another reason why you may have notebooks full of lists, because once you got the relief, you put the list down, like, oh, I feel better. I'm going to be more organized, but we haven't done the next step. So the next step is critical. So Emily, let's go to the next step, which is using sorting. And if you go to the next step as well, you'll see that this is the opposite of divergent thinking. So just hit it one more time, Emily. There we go. Convergent thinking, where we take all those little sticky notes and we put them through a funnel. Now, in this case, the funnel we're going to put them through to converge down is the today and not today format. And so you each have that. And I think that might even be on the next slide, Emily, if we want to pull that up. Now, if you don't have the today and not today handout, you can make it just like you did the first grid with a simulation. It's also in your chat. Today critical means this. Put a sticky note in this column if that item has to be done today or there is a consequence you do not want to pay. That's what critical means. For instance, if it's somebody's birthday and you're going to lose some street cred with them if you don't say happy birthday today, that's today critical. Today not critical is you'd like to get to it today, but it's not critical, so it goes in the middle column. And not today is after you look at it for a while, you go, yeah, not going to happen today, but I don't want to forget it. It's important. So I put it in not today. I'll get to it because tomorrow in your planning, you can take all the sticky notes that didn't get completed, do a new brainstorm, and then sort them out this way. So the second step is sorting. Are there questions about these columns? Again, remember, today critical must be done or there's a consequence you don't want to pay, and you get to decide if that's critical or not. Today, not critical, you'd like to get it done. That's kind of icing on the cake. Not today. You're being sane and stable and saying, yeah, it's not going to happen today. So go ahead and take some time, and I'll time you just a little bit. Let's see, we'll give you about a minute and a half to go ahead and take your sticky notes and sort them in these 3 columns. Okay, we're almost there. We have about 5 more seconds. So see if you can get your sticky notes all sorted. And would love it if somebody would share what you're teaching yourself from this exercise. What's an insight that's coming up for you by doing this? And Emily and Benita, help me see if there's a hand raised that I don't catch. Yep, Deborah, I see that. It's easy prioritization, really simple. Todd, hopefully this is helping with some of the things you said. Oh, Colleen, nice. You gave your, permission. See, you become more sovereign when you start to be a little more judicious about, okay, that can wait. Heather, it is okay not to do everything. It seems like everything that comes out is so important, but it's not necessarily everything is important. Good lessons. Todd, thanks. Yeah, to be fair, it is. So since you're in Cape Town, you have you've just planned for the next day maybe, or for whatever you need to do for the end. Olivia, this is nice. It's more important to complete one time-sensitive task correctly than multiple with mistakes. I would agree, especially if you're the kind of person, and at least 25% of you will be the kind of person where quality is more important. And we're learning today that if you measure your time and your focus by the impact that your focus has, instead of just filling in a check sheet and saying, I spent an hour on this project, but really saying, what did I accomplish in that hour? Everything goes up.
I just had an interesting observation / epiphany or something.
Please.
So I have a blank wall in front of me, and I was like, okay, well, I'll just put all this up on the wall in 3 columns. And I started doing that, and all the Post-its started falling off the wall. And so what I then did is I just grabbed them all off in whatever order they fell, and I stacked them in together into three stacks. And now I don't know what order they're in. I do know that they're in critical, not critical, and
not today.
But I also presently don't know what order they're in. So like when I get to the critical, I'm just going to pull one after the next, and I'll do them as I see them.
Awesome. And you know, Todd, not all sticky notes are created equal, and there might be some kind of something on the wall that they're not sticking to, depending upon the paint or the surface. And so this is why some people actually get a cork board or a poster
Yep.
board, piece of glass. Yes. Thank you. And Colleen, you think it also helps you realize that it's helpful to provide a deadline? Yes. Yeah, then you could ask, when is this due? And then you know how to prioritize. That's a great idea, Colleen. And Leslie, that you can throw away a sticky note when I'm done with a task. You are ahead of us, Leslie, but yes, we're going to talk about the dopamine that we get from that. That is true. So Emily, let's show them what the next step is. Once you've divided these things out and you prioritize, now it's time to schedule. And here's how you schedule. Now, Todd, I'm going to kind of use your example. If the item can be done in 5 to 15 minutes, you may not need to schedule if you have 5 and 15-minute time frames that open up in your day. But if that thing is going to take more than 5 minutes, it's going to take 20, if it's going to take 30, you actually need to schedule it. And I know we're going to get to this, but we tend to overestimate things. Like we tend to think we can do things faster than we actually can. So if you think it's going to take 20, just add 40% to that, because we overestimate that we can do things faster by 40% than actually how fast we can do them. Yeah. So Deborah, go do your thing. Okay. So now is the time to schedule. So next slide, Emily. Now go to your schedule. Maybe that's in your phone. Maybe that's on your Google schedule. Maybe that's in a calendar. Maybe that's in Asana. Wherever it is, those things that you said were critical today, make sure that you give them a time frame. This is where we just honestly hurt ourselves. We just trip ourselves up. When we know the priority, we know the things that we need to do, and we have not given ourselves time in our schedule. We have not scheduled them. And Todd, I like your idea. So maybe you just take them as they come and you just put them into those time frames that you have open. And so you'll want to look and see, do I have enough time open to take care of these tasks? So that's where you go now. So everybody take a moment and start to schedule. Start to schedule. I'll give you just a little bit of time to do that. And then we'll find out, what did you learn from the scheduling? But remember, if it's under 5 minutes, maybe you can let it float throughout the day and just do it when you have 5 minutes. But if it takes more than 5 minutes and we don't schedule it, again, we trip ourselves up. We're not doing ourselves any favors. Take another 30 seconds here and work on scheduling. Okay, see if you can wrap that up. And would anyone like to come off and tell us what you taught yourself about scheduling? Because you probably already have things scheduled. At Franklin Covey, we used to call them the big rocks. You probably already have some meetings, some project time, some predetermined blocks of time that have already been given to some other endeavor. Anybody want to tell us anything that they learned from the scheduling section of this little process? Okay. You go to chat, tell us if you had any concerns with it. Did anybody have a question or something pop up? Emily, did you see anything?
Well, while others may be typing, I definitely noticed my bias shine through on the things that I don't maybe been already putting off. You know, I have a 30-minute slot. I put something there that I'm more interested in doing.
Right. Yeah, so one of the strategies that we have, I have an online course, and one of the strategies that I mentioned in that course, I'll just tell you guys, is do that thing that you don't like to do first and get it out of the way. Just charge at it and just say, I'm getting you out of the way because I don't like you. I'm going to get you off my schedule. So we do tend to do that, Emily. We do tend to have a bias about what's interesting and what's not. And that's just human nature. Okay, Emily, show us what the next part of the process is. The next part is, we did this, 40% completion, so keep going. Yep, we overestimate the 40%. Now, what you'll want to do is look at your schedule, and this is where we get to complete. So let's go one more slide over. This is a completion. I hold myself to about an 80% marker, which is I complete what I say I'm going to complete during the time frame at 80% or higher. I've actually snuck up to more like 95%, that when I say I'm going to do something, I do it in that time that I said I would do it. This is where the completion takes your discipline. If you can get to 80%, you are going to outperform about 90% of the population around you in focus management. If you just hold yourself to a standard of completing 80% of what you told yourself you were going to complete during the day, if you have more control over your day. There are days when somebody comes in and there's a crisis or a deadline that got bumped, and you have to dump your planning and re-plan your day or reprioritize. So set those days aside. Those are the anomaly. And let's just think about getting to a place where you complete by 80%. And the next slide, Emily, show us what that is. When you complete, and I think it was Leslie that said this, Leslie, I can't go back and chat right now, but when you finish, one of the things that you want to do is reward yourself for completing the thing you said you would do when you said you did it. You can check it off. That's why the list gets so addictive, is because you can scratch it off, and it just feels so good to get that neurochemical that is free, that gives you that up when you scratch it off. If you use the sticky notes, one of the favorite things for myself and the clients is to take a sticky note, crumple it up, and high five it into the garbage. You did it. Now, there are some people on the call that won't want to do that. If they put time and energy into planning and they have these great sticky notes, I've seen people, and I had one client who did this. She had this oversized champagne glass, and she would just put everything in there. And at the end of each month, she'd pull them out and she'd look at them and she would feed them to a bonfire. But she wanted to go over them all one more time to show herself all the things she'd done that month, which gave her an extra boost of the dopamine. So make sure that you give yourself the award. Sometimes we have to celebrate the small wins in order to keep us motivated. And I will also tell you that neuroscience now tells us if every once in a while you will keep track of how many days that you really plan well, and then just intermittently, maybe every 5th day, and then the next time it's every 10th day or every 3rd day, reward yourself. That part of you that doesn't know when you're going to reward yourself for planning actually gives you greater motivation. It's kind of how Vegas tricks us into keeping on with our gambling, is we never know when we're going to get the win. So if you play that same game with yourself, besides the daily task dopamine, you can also look and see how many consecutive days and just randomly pick a number. And when you reach that number, you give yourself a bigger reward. That will keep you motivated to keep planning. Okay, next slide, Emily. We're almost done here. So that's a 4-step question or 4-step process. If you have questions, put them in chat. Next slide, Emily. Again, to-do lists are kind of subpar now once you've figured out that the Post-it notes help you prioritize. Next slide. And then push it one more time. Okay, not there. Just keep going through these until we get there. So we have, keep going. And yeah, keep going and I'll stop you. Keep going. Because we can do the same thing with this week and not this week, but start with daily planning. Okay, next slide is the one we want. Whoop. Let's go one more. There we go. So not only did we prepare today for this exercise or these 2 exercises for you, but also if you want to receive some virtual coaching from me over the next couple of weeks, just text 33777 and in the text put IGCC and we'll sign you up for some virtual coaching where I'll take you through a series of exercises that will augment what we've done today. So if that's interesting to you, the things we did today, it's our free gift for letting us come and talk with you. Colleen, my projects and tasks are just as important as what others are asking and deserve dedicated time. Thank you for stating that. Yes, we're trying to make it so that you feel sovereign over your focus and time management again. Okay, that's what I have prepared for you today, plus this free gift if you want to text 33777 to IG, or in the text line put IGCC. Let's come off, and Emily, let me know if there are, you can follow me at these other places too. Are there questions? Are there comments before we close up today?
No, I was just going to say this, Anita. Yeah, this has been really, really good. It also makes me want to invest in a whiteboard. So
yeah, if you can see over my, Benita, can you see over my left shoulder here? I did invest in that. It's super helpful. Thank you, everybody. Todd, thank you. Agnes, thank you. Beth, thank you. I love that whiteboard.
Yeah, lots of great comments coming in. So Lynn, thank you so much for your time. I don't see any questions, but if we get any, you can see my post-its are on the wall next to me. But if we get any more questions, we'll be sure to connect you with those folks. And yeah, I appreciate your time for sharing this. This was really great. And I hope everyone enjoyed their time on the session. Sounds like it was a good use of time for everyone. So we really appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you. And if you want to take a picture of your sticky notes and put them on Instagram and tag us at SoulSalt Inc., I'd love to see those come in today. So thank you for letting me be here, Benita and Emily. It's been a pleasure to be with you guys. I hope you have a great rest of your week.
Yes, you too. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Lynn.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.